Day 3 of training camp and the second day of practice are in the books, and the defensive front of the Dolphins looked to have dominated the day, but Tua, Waddle, and Tyreek, they still had to put on a little bit of show. Plus, the Miami Dolphins, they went out and added a cornerback as we got confirmation on Artie Burns and an update on Bayron Matos. Chop Robinson subtly calls out one of the media members, and Zach Sieler addresses his contract situation. Man, we got a ton to discuss. So smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And as always, let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jaylen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw. Blitz coming. They get to him. No, he takes off running. And he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jaylen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. And we are back here for another one as I'm joined by Neal Driscoll, and we are going to dive Fin Too Deep. We got a lot to cover today. Neal, how are you feeling? That training camp's back, baby. Football's in the air, not the smell of the whole BS from the culture talk. We actually got football in the air, Neal.
Dude, Dolphins football is back. It's that point of the year where I stop being so critical of them and be a fan first and foremost. And I don't care if it's a practice. I sit there and I refresh to see all the highlights. I like to get all the practice breakdowns, and it seems like a lot of young players, are taking this season very seriously coming out of the gates, which is good to see. Names that we've kind of boasted about on this show seem like they're ready to take the next step, and it's going to be a fun ride this season to watch some of these young guys on that football field.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. If you guys haven't had a chance, go check out my Patreon. If you're a channel member, go over to the community tab and check the update that I dropped yesterday. I talk about what I've been hearing about the quarterback battle, what I've been hearing regarding where people are lined up on the offensive line, so that'll be very interesting. You'll want to check that out to know where guys are being lined up, because as you know, the mainstream media, they cannot talk about where players are lined up and such, but I have no such embargoes on myself. So go check that out if you hadn't had a chance. And Neal, before we get into the Dolphin specific stuff, sticking with the AFC East here, Jets dodged a potential bullet in regards to Justin Fields, but the word you're hearing, and you were telling me out of Jets training camp and you talking to people, is that Justin Fields hasn't looked that great anyways. He's been very, as you said, erratic, no?
Yeah, look, and for the Jets, the bar is low. Good news is that their starting quarterback's not out for the season. Bad news, your starting quarterback's Justin Fields, right? Like that's kind of how it goes. And I just heard that, it's nothing new with him. It's kind of what we've always heard.
Yeah.
He's not he's intriguing because he can make plays with his legs, right?
Yeah.
He might be the worst passing quarterback not named Anthony Richardson in the short and intermediate passing game in the NFL. He's actually not a bad downfield
Or
thrower.
Zach Wilson. You forgot to throw Zach Wilson.
Yeah, Zach Wilson. But like, yeah, like, and I'll be there. In all seriousness, like it doesn't. I don't want to see Justin Fields go down. Not because because honestly, I've been critical of the Dolphins. I'd be shocked if the Dolphins don't sweep the Jets, barring health of certain players on this team. Right? Like I'd be shocked that the Jets. They paid their guys they had to, which was good for them.
Yeah.
I definitely would have paid Garrett. You're kind of in no man's land. Sauce is still a good corner, but 3 picks in 3 seasons.
You think they lose Brees? You think Brees walks and they don't pay him?
Yeah, I actually think they're going to trade him to a team like the Bengals or Cowboys at the deadline.
Room, baby. I'll take him if Ollie Gordon don't show up. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I think Tyler Engstrom, their offensive coordinator, is going to put Braylon Allen in the Montgomery role, and I think that Brees Hall is going to be more in that Jahmyr Gibbs type of role. Yeah, but he's on a 4th year of a deal. He's battled injuries, and his best season was his rookie season. So I think the Jets are a team that has
this. In fairness, I just started to cut you off, Neal? Can we say it's kind of like the running back? Can we kind of like say it's like the running back situation? The running back situation is kind of like the quarterback situation in Miami, where they need help, right? And like Brees hasn't had very much support.
Yeah, and their offensive coordinators didn't do him any favors, but they did have a decent offensive line. When I watch the Jets, it looks like Brees is just a minute late hitting those holes that he was hitting as a rookie. Isaiah Davis, who they drafted out of South Dakota State, looked pretty quick through those same holes. So I don't know. I think he's in the 4th year of a rookie deal. He's a 2nd-round pick, so there's no 5th-year option. I think he's going to be one that they're open for business. If their schedule, they start a brutal schedule. Their run defense, to me, is going to be pretty bad this year. Brandon Stevens is their 2nd corner. We talk about our deficiencies at corner. You could pay me $10 million a year to have Brandon Stevens as a starting corner right now, and I wouldn't do it. So, it's one of those things. I think it's going to be a long season for them, and that Aaron Glenn, his job this year is just to kind of stabilize the ship, right? They're like, if they won 6 to 7 games, I feel like that's a really good year for the Jets. So, it doesn't surprise me. They definitely dodged a bullet, but I don't know if Tyrod Taylor wins that many more drastically less games than Justin Fields would for the Jets anyway.
Yeah. I think I don't know. It's kind of crazy how that. Oh man, I mean, I say this all the time, right? It could be worse, Dolphin fans. We could be Jet fans, right? Like,
well, look, and Zach Wilson's problem isn't that he's a horrible quarterback, which he has been, but his problem was a bad franchise took him at number 2 overall when he was a late 2nd, early 3rd round type of prospect.
But I always go back to Sean Payton, though. Like, Sean Payton, he's clearly more talented from an arm standpoint and an athletic standpoint than a guy like Jared Stidham. But look at, because Jared Stidham can anticipate a little bit, can throw guys open, can make timing throws. Sean Payton kind of, in so many ways chose Jared Stidham over Zach Wilson. And to me, that's always been a massive red flag, Neal.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that Zach's had 2 good days at Dolphins camp, but like, I take the good and the bad, and I try to take it on an even playing field, because it is only two days of training camp. They're not in full pads yet. And I've seen enough of Zach Wilson to know that his play doesn't excite me too much.
Listen, and I don't think they're talking about Ewers enough. I mean, me and you can talk about everything when we get off here, but if you go check out my Patreon channel member update, I mean, Ewers is doing good things. Like, we're talking about he's checking down when pressure's coming to him. Like yesterday, he had some pressure coming towards him, and he was doing veteran quarterback stuff in terms of recognizing the pressure, IDing where it's coming from, and taking the check down, like not forcing the situation and stuff. Like, I don't think people are talking about Ewers enough from what I'm hearing privately, at least, and what I've been actually hearing since OTAs. Me and you can talk when we're offline, but yeah, Ewers isn't getting enough hype, and it seems like Ewers is looking like the guy I thought he would be in terms of the scheme fit. And they might potentially have a guy who can actually operate this offense if Tua goes down.
Well, look, and I think he's a borderline lock for the roster based off of him being a draft pick that they took if you put him on the practice squad, I think he's got enough talent that someone's going to snatch him. And I think he's going to play a lot of football in the preseason, right? And if he plays to the level what we think he can do within this scheme, and performs at a very high rate, there's no way that the Dolphins will be able to stash him. So I think they're definitely going to keep 3 quarterbacks on this roster. And, I think there's a lot of upside with Quinn Ewers. The talent was always there. He played big-time collegiate football. It's getting him comfortable in a pro system. And it seems like he's definitely, early on taking a good adjustment towards it.
Listen, before we get into the Dolphin stuff too, everyone in the chat knows me and you are huge wrestling fans. Hulk Hogan passed away. Me and you were talking about this a little bit before we went live here. And, for me, me and you can both agree. We're not here talking about Hogan, the person off the field, you know what I mean? Because he obviously did a lot of terrible things. And not even just racist things. I mean, the guy was terrible to a lot of, he made a lot of from booking to how he treated some other wrestlers. He wasn't an angel by any stretch of the imagination. But for me and you, we go back to the 80s and early 90s. And, Neal, some of the best memories for me, like my grandfather was my father figure, and he passed away on Canada Day in 97. And, some of the best memories I have, Neal, are me on Saturday night main event, watching Hogan, watching pay-per-views with Hogan, going to WrestleMania 6 at Skydome, seeing Hogan Warrior, he was just bigger than life when we were children. And he's really what turned wrestling mainstream and where it is and to the level it's at nowadays. It's kind of crazy how it's crazy for me because this kind of we know his health hadn't been great over the last year, but man, this comes out of nowhere. While a guy like Flair, every time the Grim Reaper knocks on the door, he puts him in the figure 4 leg lock and makes him tap out. So, it's kind of crazy. People want to hear your thoughts too on Hogan passing away.
Yeah, man. If you ask me to name the one thing that I can say is a symbol of my childhood, it will be me sitting in front of my TV being a Hulkamaniac. I was Hulk Hogan 5 consecutive years for Halloween here. Everything I had every Hulk Hogan shirt that ever came, foam fingers, championship belts, every toy. I remember vividly watching WrestleMania 3, Hogan, Andre in my parents' basement, the house they still live in, that we rented from Errol's Video with my big rubber wrestling figures, and I was reenacting the Hogan Andre match. Then the Wrestling Buddies came out, and that was my life with Hulk Hogan. And look, I'm confident saying this because there's not a racist bone in my body. Terry Bollea, the man, had made some statements that I wholeheartedly disagree with every ounce of my being. But Hulk Hogan, the character that was on my TV when I was a child, that, literally I took his vitamins. I prayed because he told me to. When Earthquake smashed him, I wrote a letter, and I didn't know that it was just the biggest market employee of all time that WWE was doing to get my address. Yeah. What a great move, because every birthday and every holiday that there was, my entire family, not just my parents, but my aunts, my cousins, everybody, everything I got was Hulk Hogan and WWE. And I cheated a little bit with the Ultimate Warrior, I'm not going to lie. But, Hulk Hogan, man.
He was savage.
71 years old. It's too young for a guy like that to go. It's sad. Sure, there's a lot of regrets. When I die, you can have stories that come out about me and some things I did that probably I'm not so proud about either. But, Hulk Hogan, the wrestling, the entertainer, what he did for a young guy like me, just to teach me how to be so passionate in everything I tackle in my life. And then he goes to WCW, which I hated, and became probably the greatest heel of all time, which was just absolutely amazing.
That's what I was going to say. We're talking about the memories and the entertainment he provided. And think about this. He has that superhero-like run, when I was an 85 baby, right? So 85 to early 90s, Brett takes over. And then think about that, from 10 to 13, 14, he created again some of the best entertainment and memories on TV with the NWO turn in 96.
Was brilliant.
So that's the thing. Not only did he provide countless memories from our childhood, bonding experiences with, your parents and my grandfather and stuff like that, but he in general, he provided some of the best TV. You know, like that NWO stuff. I mean, man, even when the Wolfpack was around, I remember me and my friends all tuning in when we all watched it together on a phone call, on a conference call, when Sting came down from the rafters, had the white and black on, and then ripped it off and had the Wolfpack colors underneath. So, man, it's you know what's crazy, man? You know, like the reality of getting older is a lot of the people you were fans of, whether it be musically, whether it be, you know, entertainment wise on your TV or whatever, as you get older, they just continue to, you know, pass away.
Dude,
So
it comes with the territory. And one thing that I always urge people to do, and this is why I try to do wrestling events with my son and everything, is my Mount Rushmore of athletes or entertainers that are on my all-time list are Marino, Ripken, Ovechkin, and Hogan. And I've got to meet every one of them in my life, which is awesome. And I'm trying to do the same thing for my son, because it's such a, you know, I met him 3 years ago, Hulk Hogan. And I was just telling you before I came on air, like, I usually could keep my composure. And I actually usually, when I run into a celebrity or a football player, try to act like I'm the cool guy in the room and don't think that they're bigger than me. Yeah. Like when I didn't really one time shake Ronnie Brown's hand when he was in line with me right in front of me. I was like, that's Ronnie Brown. I'm not going to bother him, you know, but like with Hulk Hogan, like I couldn't control myself. It was like a girl being at a Taylor Swift concert, maybe, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh my God, Hulkster. Yeah. Oh my God. Like, you know what I mean? And my son was even looking at me like, dude, are you all right? Like, what's wrong with you, man? So it's a sad day for wrestling fans, man. And, you know, for me, it's not about race. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about what that guy meant to a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old Neal Driscoll. And just, you know, you and I are big wrestling fans, and we talk about it as much as we talk about football. The reason I'm a big wrestling fan, the reason that you've had to call me a WWE tribalist before, is because of Hulk Hogan, right? He turned me WWE, and I never turned back. And
him and Savage for me, man. Like, you're talking about regrets, not meeting people. You know, if you could put them in the same room, I would have preferred to met Macho Man, because Macho Man was my favorite wrestler from the 80s. But I also recognize that if it wasn't for Hogan, would Macho Man have even reached my TV up in Toronto, Canada? You know what I mean? If it wasn't for Hogan, would I have got Savage on my TV? Then again, if it wasn't for Hogan, would I have got WCW on my TV in Canada? Because we didn't start getting it till TBS didn't come here till like the early 90s. Like, you know, we didn't start getting WCW up here. You know, we didn't have it. Let me just put it this way. It wasn't on our normal TV up here when like Rick Rude was the champion. It was after Hogan had arrived there and they put it on TV up there. So then I got introduced to
like 94, 95, right?
Yeah, because we didn't get NWA up here, right? Because remember, we were part of the WWE market. We were considered the North. And you remember, what would those guys always say when they went to WCW? Oh, up north, up north. They're talking about Connecticut, but we were considered part of that, right? Because we're only a couple hours away from New York, right? So we were considered part of that, and they had that territory unlocked. Because remember what had happened. Vince had bought out Stampede Wrestling, and he had bought out all the territory and all the viewership that Stu Hart had. So we were basically, you know, it was blackout WCW and NWA for us until like 94. So Hogan did that for me too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. And look, I tried to watch WCW when it was Sting and Ric Flair, and I still would. But like when Hogan and Macho got there, then it was
Doom.
Yeah, but like they were wrestling. Yeah, exactly. That's what they had going on. But then Hogan and Macho come, and we all know the history from then. And I actually think it made the WWE what it is today, because for the first time in Vince McMahon's life, he was losing. And they had to go to something they never would have went to, which was the Attitude Era, which saved their business. And I don't think that ever happens if it isn't for Hulk Hogan and the NWO.
Yeah. All right, let's get into training camp. All right, we got a lot to cover right here. And let's start off with some updates from today, Neal. And first and foremost, Dolphins put out an update on offensive lineman Bayron Matos. They said Bayron Matos sustained an injury at the end of Wednesday's practice, was transported to Ryder Trauma Center at Jackson Memorial Hospital, where he remained overnight for evaluation and testing. He has movement in all extremities and is in stable condition. He will remain in the care of doctors for continued observation. And then with Artie Burns, we had it confirmed from Adam Schefter that is an ACL tear for Artie Burns, who is now expected to miss the entire 2025 season. And we'll get into the move they made to try and supplement that Artie Burns loss. But for now, your thoughts on Bayron Matos, who last night apparently feeling was coming in and out of his right leg. So last night he started getting feeling back because half of the side of his body apparently didn't have feeling, and he lowered his head, took the brunt of the force on his neck. I mean, if this doesn't scare you with Asante Samuel Jr. and what he's coming off of, I don't know what to tell you. And then Artie Burns, a guy who's probably going to take a lot of slot reps, Neal, with Kohou playing a lot of boundary. But the other thing too is, Neal, he was going to be one of probably our main gunners on special teams. This is actually a ripple effect loss. So what are your thoughts on the two injuries? And also give me your thoughts while you're at it with Liam Eichenberg being out for weeks, according to Mike McDaniel. And that means it's opened the door for Daniel Brunskill, who I heard yesterday, Neal, they had him on day one of practice working out at every single interior position. So we know that's going to continue going on.
Yeah, man, a lot to unpack. First on Matos, man, I'm glad that he's okay. I still think it's scary that he's still under observation in the hospital. It just shows you that you really can never take anything for granted. I mean, obviously they're not going full system to go at practice and hitting, but I don't know what exactly happened. But like for him to be in that type of situation, to get, I guess, helicoptered out of the practice field to a hospital, man, that is just some scary stuff. So continued thoughts his way, because again, we're fans, we cheer for teams. These are people, I don't care who it is. It's unfortunate to see somebody have to go through something like that, right? So get better, big man. Artie Burns, he's the veteran of that group right now, right? Like he's the guy from the U who brings a little bit of experience there. I don't think it's a catastrophic injury in the grand scheme of things, because I do think that the Dolphins, and this is per Barry Jackson on the timeline, have a standing offer for Rasul Douglas, and I think that's eventually going to get done, and he'll be the veteran of the group. But I do think it sucks that Artie Burns doesn't get to play for the Dolphins this season, right? His season's over day one of camp, right? So it sucks, but I don't think it's a move that's going to hamper him big time, because I thought the cornerback room had a lot to be desired while he was a part of it. Still, again, hate to see him go down with injury. And, sometimes those injuries can pan out. In the Liam Eichenberg situation, I think they have what they've needed for multiple years. Brunskill would have been their best guard last year. His versatility to the inside is something that we have needed immensely. Him on the roster makes me feel so much better about the interior offensive line. If you tell me it's Brewer, Savaiinaea, James Daniels, and Brunskill, I'm good with that. Like, I'm really good with that. And like, I don't know what took Miami so long to get a guy like that, but I think he's going to be a great fit in our scheme, man. And it wouldn't surprise me if in formations by the goal line that he's a guy potentially that can line up as an extra offensive lineman in the backfield, because he moves pretty well. I think he's going to make the team. I still think Liam's going to be on this roster, but he's probably going to start the season on the PUP list or something along those lines. And I don't think he's going to come back and get that job back. I think, for me, as a guy who doesn't have a lot of faith in Liam Eichenberg, it's music to my ears. I don't want to see him go down because of injury, but now we have a better player as in that reserve role.
Yeah. Now they did go ahead and they made some moves today, Neal. They signed Cornell Armstrong and they signed Obinna Easy, not Easy-E. And then obviously Artie Burns, he was placed on injured reserve, and Ted Cushy didn't make it very long in aqua and orange. Let's start off with Cornell Armstrong here. Neal, like they went ahead and they brought back a guy they had here years ago. And it's not, it contradicts what I've heard about how locked in they are on Rasul Douglas, which I also talked to my Patreon update about. What are your thoughts on they didn't even bring in Stephon Gilmore? Like, does this show you because I've heard the Young Bucks, I've heard no AEW, I've heard the young corners have looked decent the first 2 days. Does this kind of reaffirm what we've been hearing privately, that they're a lot higher on that cornerback room than we are, that they didn't even add, like, they could have went out and added a slot specialist like Mike Hilton. They didn't even do that. Like, what does this say to you?
Their names have been, I mean, the Dolphins have been associated with Asante Samuel Jr., Stephon Gilmore, Rasul Douglas. I think Cornell Armstrong is a placeholder, but I don't think that it tells me more so than anything is that they're not going to change the way they're doing business today for anything. Like, I think they want Rasul Douglas, and they have a number, and they're not going to acquiesce away from that number. And if Rasul Douglas wants to play football in 2025, if he doesn't have a lot of suitors, the Dolphins' number is probably the best number out there for him, and it'd be foolish for him not to take it. So I think they're willing to roll the dice and see if anyone else picks him up, because they do have confidence in those young corners. And that's something I don't share. But when you look at it, like, I'd argue Kader Kohou is a very underrated NFL football player, not just as a Dolphin. In the grand scheme of the NFL, I think that they drafted Cam Smith in round 2. The talent is there. Has he matured? Is he putting it together? Look, they love Storm Duck. There's no secret about that.
Yep.
And they like Isaiah Johnson, and they like these young guys. And now they have a veteran at free safety in Minkah Fitzpatrick that is going to do his assignment very well. And it takes some of that pressure off of those corners. So I think the Dolphins are comfortable rolling in with what they have. I think they'd like to add a body to that, and that body being Rasul Douglas. Yeah. But I also don't think that they're going to say, okay, Rasul, we're going to give you more money now because we need you. I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't seem like they're going to cave anytime soon, right? Like, it just doesn't seem like that's on the docket for them. So, I mean,
do you like Rasul Douglas? Because I like him, but I don't think he's like this savior. I think he's a good third or fourth type of corner that you can have that would be a good depth guy. I think he's got to
come here and prove he can even beat out Storm Duck or Cam Smith. Cam Smith, had a big play today, recovered a fumble and stuff. I think, Rasul Douglas isn't even a lock to be the guy opposite of Kohou for me. So,
I agree. I don't think he's a lock, and that's where I think he's a good guy that brings some experience to your room. I like that he's been able to make plays on the ball. He's pretty good at creating turnovers. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's an average cover. Year. Yeah, he's an average cover guy. Like, let's be honest, he's an average NFL corner. So, like, I will say this:
you're going to want him in zone. You're not going to want him in a lot of man looks.
Where I am in my evaluation process of this team, I want to see the young guys play over Rasul Douglas. I would like to see that. I am surprised, based off of where Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel could potentially be, that they're not more hell-bent on finding, a veteran to bring to the fray here. But, again, they see these players a lot more than any of us. So I think that they have something they've seen with some of these guys in the secondary that makes them feel, what is the difference between a Rasul Douglas and a Storm Duck really worth us, $3 to $5 million contract? And the answer right now is no.
All right, let's get into it. Let's get into some training camp. We'll go over what Travis Wingfield reported, what the Herald reported, what the Sun Sentinel reported. I got a couple little media availability clips I want to go over. And then we'll show people a few highlights, and then we'll go from there. All right. So
I think Travis has done a really good job on his recaps. By the way, the last 2 days have been really, really strong.
And it's not even, and it'll be far more detailed when fans are there, right? Because he's allowed to be more detailed, right?
Yeah, I dare say that if anyone who's allowed to report what they see, he's done the best job.
Yeah, I agree. So day 2 notes, he said, love the start of practice as the Dolphins hit 2 explosive runs, sandwiched around a 20-yard completion to Waddle. The O-line reset the line of scrimmage on an H-hand run that might have gone the distance. And this is what we're going to talk about when I'm done reading this, Neal. Jonah Savaiinaea moved Zach Sieler off the ball maybe more than I've seen anybody ever accomplish in a camp practice. Austin Jackson had a seal on a big run outside. After that, though, Jordan Brooks started making run-throughs and blowing some plays up. He looks in midseason form. Tua was on point today, especially in the anticipation throws in the deep intermediate. Looked very 2022-2023 Dolphins. Waddle made 3 such catches, including a beautifully timed crosser 25 yards down the field. Tyreek ran the best route of the day to widen a corner, cross face, and catch the ball 25 yards downfield with more yards after the catch. Defensively, it was all about strength to me, to Travis today. Jalen Phillips set hard edges throughout practice. He made backs change tracks on 3 occasions that Travis saw. Chubb was right there with them. Also had a sack and an immediate pressure that forced a throwaway. Trop Robinson had a sack, and Grayson Murphy had a nice inside rush that forced a quick throw and a subsequent dropped interception. And then he continues on, and he says Jordan Phillips looks like a problem to him. He gets off the ball so quick, and then he goes to the power and strength to overwhelm the guys. Man, that ability to convert speed to power for a guy like Jordan Phillips on the interior, that's going to be an issue. Anyways, he says he reset the line of scrimmage a couple of times. Kader had a really nice pass breakup on 7-on-7 on Tyreek. Read the leverage, broke underneath, and threw the hand in there. Thought Ethan Bonner had one of the better days of the corners. He stayed on a vertical route. Perfect throw by Zach Wilson, and he poked it out at the end. He said it's fun to watch Minka work against the vertical ball. There was a coverage sack where Tua wanted to go deep, but Minka was all over it. Some additional highlights. Ollie Gordon looked smooth and at the size. That's a fun combo. He thought Zach Wilson looked really sharp. He stacked 2 good days, playing on time, the ball jumping out of his hand. He said Mo Kamara had a nice line of scrimmage reset on a rundown rep. Wright hit an explosive right at the end of practice. His ability to get vertical through his cuts is impressive. And then James Daniels continues to look like he did on tape with the Steelers to me. Calm, in control, explosive athlete. Oh boy, let's stick with the interior, Neal, because this is 2 days in a row. The interior offensive line has looked, and again, the pads aren't on yet, but Jonah Savaiinaea, this man's saying this is the most he's seen someone move Zach Sieler around. Oh boy, you know, like, get me hyped. And then James Daniels, Neal, one thing I've been saying consistently is, are we going to get the guy pre-injury form or the guy who looks like he's coming off Achilles injury? Because if we get the pre-injury form, we could be cooking with fish grease, Neal. So what are your thoughts on the early returns we're hearing on Savaiinaea and this James Daniels signing?
Yeah, we had a former Dolphin reach out or come after me a little bit last week, Robert Hunt, because I had a post that I said that Jonah Savaiinaea had more upside, and I got a lot of text messages like, "Oh man, Neal, you see this guy calling you out?" And I guess they expect me to put my tail between my legs and run, but
thank
instead,
God he doesn't watch my show, because I've been saying it since we drafted Savaiinaea.
Right. Well, look. 3 days before that comment, I had him ranked as the 10th over. Robert Hunt ranked as the 10th overall interior offensive lineman in the NFL. So I have my respect for him. But the bottom line is, coming out of Arizona versus Robert Hunt coming out of college, I think Jonah Savaiinaea is a far more superior prospect, and it is what it is. And it's his ability to move people that I like most. And when Travis highlights that and talks about James Daniels, and he's talking about what I heard when I broke down everything that Travis just said, is that screams trenches to me, right? Yeah. We're talking about defensive linemen and offensive linemen performing well in the trenches. What has haunted this football team and this organization. I love that. I love that Savaiinaea is in there day one, mixing it up. And I'm glad he's under contract, and I don't give a shit if it's 100% guaranteed or 90% guaranteed of his contract. He's out there. That's what I care about. It's not my money. Stephen Ross, you know, that 10% difference to Stephen Ross doesn't mean shit. He doesn't care. Like, get that guy out there and get him moving Zach Sieler, and he's going to have every opportunity because of the talent he's going to be facing as a young guy going against Zach Sieler and his draft mate Kenneth Grant. Like, he's going to be challenged every day. And, you know, like that, you know, pressure's going to either build diamonds or burst pipes. And I love what we're seeing. And look, James Daniels, We've been pounding for him on this show for 3 years. We've wanted James Daniels on this team for years. And the reason is he's a good football player. And if he's here and he's healthy, he's going to be a huge upgrade to the guard position.
Yeah. And I like how I nicknamed him the Samoan Shield. And Skunk Ape says, I agree. Samoan Shield has a bigger upside for sure. Also good for Hunt, but he is well overpaid. All right, so let's keep it going here, and let's get into what the Miami Herald had to say and their notes on today. They said Tua Tagovailoa had a pretty good day. He completed a 20-yarder to Jaylen Waddle, but Kader Kohou prevented a completion on a Tagovailoa pass to Tyreek Hill. But later, Tagovailoa hit Hill for 10 yards, his first catch in the early stages of training camp, and a few minutes later, Tagovailoa hit Hill for 25 yards. Tagovailoa completed a 22-yard pass to Waddle, who contorted his body to make a nice catch. Practice ended with a Tagovailoa incompletion to Waddle. Kohou had very good coverage on an incomplete pass from Tagovailoa to Hill. Kohou disrupted Hill's route. Among Thursday's mishap, Malik Washington fumbled after completion, and there's that kid Dante Trader, baby. He shows up and he recovers. That guy just knows when to be. He just has the instincts, man. That guy. I'm telling you, man. I said this, Neal, and we can talk about it when I'm done reading the notes here. You know, I know if he's hurt right now, but Dante Trader and guys like Patrick Morris aren't the type of guys I'd be wanting to be willing to give valuable reps to, man. Waddle dropped what should have been an easy completion over the middle. Penalties torpedoed 3 straight plays, a combination of false starts and offsides. 5 more penalties followed later, Neal. They were at least 4 false start penalties. Julian Hill must have been on the field. And this also, Neal, yesterday they were running wind sprints at the end of practice because of their penalties. I bet you they were doing it again today. Achane's speed and burst were on display with 2 long runs that could have gone for touchdowns. Ollie Gordon made a nifty move to escape a defender on a 4-yard run, but another Gordon run was stuffed out by Quentin Bell. Aaron Brewer remained away from practice and was wearing a compression sleeve on his right leg. Andrew Meyer continues to get a lot of work at center. Also on Thursday, Matos and Artie Burns, they were not there. Ifeatu Melifonwu was not there as well. He just watched practice from the sideline. Benito Jones, he was wearing the orange jersey. Bradley Chubb was no longer wearing the knee brace that he used during Wednesday's session. Tanner Conner, who had a fumble Wednesday, came back strong Thursday by extending his arms on the sideline for 20-yard reception from Tagovailoa and then catching a 25-yarder from Zach Wilson. Chop Robinson had a quarterback pressure that could easily have been a sack. Linebacker Derek McLendon and defensive lineman Matt Dickerson combined on a sack. Zach Wilson was pretty good, completing a 20-yarder to Tyreek Black and a 25-yarder to Connor. Izukama then dropped a long pass from Wilson. Ethan Bonner and Trader had good coverage, but it probably should have been caught. Izukama failed to haul in another Wilson pass, but there was good coverage on the play. Wilson overthrew a deep pass to Malik Washington, with Patrick Morris providing good coverage. Quinn Ewers completed a 20-yard pass to Malik Washington. Ewers had a 15-yard pass to rookie tight end Jalen Connors in 7-on-7, but an errant Ewers pass was nearly intercepted by Ryan Cooper Jr. Linebacker Jalen Phillips stuffed Achane for a 1-yard loss on a running play. James Daniels, coming off an Achilles tear in week 4 last season, participated in 2 sets of team drills after participating in only 1 on Wednesday. The Dolphins are practicing at 9:15 a.m. tomorrow and Saturday before taking Sunday off. Jaylen Wright had a nice cutback on a sizable run. Alec Ingold stood up Jalen Phillips on the play. Bonner had a good day, preventing a completion from Tagovailoa to Hill. Bell drew a holding penalty. There you go on Julian Hill. There you go. Julian Hill right back at it. Mo Kamara had a nice play to stop running back in the backfield. Minka Fitzpatrick appeared to be giving Tagovailoa some tips in an animated teaching point session. Jaylen Wright flashed his speed on a 15-yard run. Reporters are not permitted to disclose who's with first or second teams, but it's safe to say that the cornerback spot opposite Kohou is an open competition. Several players are getting reps with starters. And Bradley Chubb destroyed Patrick Paul on a sack. Not ideal by any stretch of the imagination at all.
I actually heard he's been holding his own for the most part. Like, dude, Chubb, Phillips, and Chop is going to be a problem for any offensive tackle in football, right? Like, if you play against them every rep, they're going to win. I'm a little bit encouraged through 2 days with Patrick Paul, to be honest.
I am too. Yeah. I wanted to ask you actually, yeah, and I agree with you. What have you thought about Minka? I know he hasn't talked to the media yet, but he was leading the DB room yesterday in practice. You see him now helping his former Alabama alma mater out in Tua Tagovailoa, giving him some pointers on what he's seeing out there. What have been your thoughts on Minka over the last 2 days? Because apparently yesterday he had a play too where if it was live action, he could have lit up Waddle over the middle. Like he could have sent his soul, back to where it came from. What have been your thoughts?
Every minute that he's a part of this franchise, I love the trade for him and Jalen Ramsey more and more. He's the best leader on this team. Outside of Tyreek Hill, he's the most decorated player on this football team right now. The notion that he's this like average safety all of a sudden is nonsense to me. He's still a top 5 to 7 safety, no matter what, however you slice it. Like, he's a damn good football player, but it's the intangibles and the knowledge that he's going to bring to a young football team that is going to be equal to his play on the field, because like he knows where he has to be. Like this whole notion that he doesn't want to be in Miami, like I think that everyone's just chasing these narratives to like make the Dolphins look bad. I
agree.
They turned a situation where they were trading their best defensive back in Jalen Ramsey, and they got a better football player back and a draft pick when they were just going to get the draft pick. And I think Mink is going to have a great rebound season in Miami.
Agreed.
And I can't wait to watch him, man. He's like probably, out of anyone on this roster, he's polarizing to me right now.
Yeah. I think Minka's going to return to that all-pro form this year, bro. I honestly do believe. I think Tyreek's going to have a bounce-back year because they're hearing the noise a little bit. You know what I mean? So,
look, if they're healthy, the Dolphins' offense is going to be top 5. That's all we know when Tyreek, Waddle, and Tua are together on a healthy team.
Yeah, and they look like they were putting on a little bit of a preview today of what's to come in pads. So continuing on here, here's David Feronas, the homie, one of my favorite in the media. He says, observations from Thursday's second practice of Dolphins training camp. Tagovailoa made an impressive deep out throw to Jaylen Waddle, who acrobatically kept his feet in bounds on the sideline. But maybe his best throw came in a late team period, deep over the middle to Tyreek Hill on a rope amongst multiple defenders. Devon Achane had decent room to run in an opening session full of team drills. He ran behind James Daniels for a big hole through the middle of the line. Immediately after, Achane showed his burst to the outside, getting around the edge to the right side for a big gain. Jaylen Wright has also looked to be moving well in each of the Dolphins' first 2 practices. He broke off a big run to the right side off a tackle later in practice as rain started coming down. Late in practice, he started left and cut upfield nicely through a hole. Chop Robinson pressured Zach Wilson into an incompletion when he was up against Julian Hill and easily worked around him, Neal. I love how people are trying to change those Julian Hill narratives up and it ain't working. Again, matched up later, Hill held Robinson and got called for it. Later, fellow edge Jalen Phillips sealed the edge to open another team period. He also had quarterbacks under pressure multiple times Thursday. More optimism for the pass rush came toward the end of drills as Bradley Chubb whipped, look at that, now we're getting more details, Neal, whipped Patrick Paul with an inside move, forcing a throwaway from Tagovailoa. Benito Jones, who wore the orange jersey Thursday, had to run stuff up the middle, but the play may have been stopped early. Dickerson and McLendon combined for a practice sack of Tagovailoa after the QB held onto the ball going through his reads. Ethan Bonner was in coverage on a deep pass from Zach Wilson to Eric Ezekiel for an impressive breakup. Ollie Gordon cuts well for his size, as exhibited by one play where he started off tackle to the left, saw a defender set the edge, and quickly cut it upfield to find room for the run. Quinn Bill had a strong run stuff setting the edge in 11s. On a play that continued after a pre-snap penalty was called, Andrew Armstrong dropped a Ewers pass. A flag was thrown before the ensuing snap. 7-on-7, Tagovailoa connected with Waddle on a slant with Waddle, sliding for the catch in 7-on-7. He then looked Tyreek's way, and Kader Kohou blanketed him for a pass breakup. Waddle later dropped a pass from Tagovailoa over the middle. Tagovailoa found Tanner Connor open on the sideline, and Connor made a nice toe tap catch in bounds. Wilson hit Malik Washington in 7-on-7, but Washington fumbled as he appeared to be letting it up at the end of the play. If it's being called a fumble, Dante Trader recovered it. Wilson made a strong throw on a short out to Tariq Black. Channing Tindall was right there for an immediate stop on a short pass over the middle. Ewers hit Tajay Washington on a crossing route of an intermediate depth, leaving Washington with room to run as he took it upfield. Ryan Cooper Jr. dropped a possible interception of Ewers and did push-ups afterwards. After there was no orange jersey denoting a practice player of the day, Wednesday's opening session of camp, Jones Benito had it this day. Now, stock up. Jalen Phillips got consistent pressure on the quarterbacks off the edge and showed prowess against the run. It's been a big year for him going into a contract season after undergoing a rehab last offseason. Julian Hill was best in pass pro on the edge and later held on a pass rush without making any other noticeable contributions. Sorry, he was beat in pass protection. I apologize, not best. Pre-snap penalties were an issue again Thursday for an offense that has had such issues through the Mike McDaniel era. It's early in camp, but something the offense needs to clean up. Let's talk about it, Neal. Julian Hill, dude. I mean, I'm just waiting for Darren Waller to get into football shape, Neal, so he can hit that field. I'm more intrigued by the Darren Waller, Pharaoh Brown. If Tanner O'Connor can stay healthy and show me what you got, Hayden Rucci, than I am in Julian Hill right now. The pads aren't even on, Neal, and he's already getting flagged multiple times for holding and getting dominated in pass pro.
Yeah, the Julian Hill experience to me is something that's well past its due. I think he was one of the worst players on this team last year. He consistently hurt this team. He offers little to nothing as a pass catcher. If you can go find another veteran to replace him, go do it. They tell you that you want the Dolphins fans want anyone. Well, look, I would take Noah Fant on this team, over Julian Hill all day, every day. I just have no faith in Julian Hill.
You think Phillips has a big year?
I do. I think he could finally hit that 10 sack plateau, and I think it's just because that trio is going to be. I think it's one of the league's best pass rush trios because I think
it's one of the league's best fronts, Neal. When you Zach and Kenneth.
And look, and like Travis Wingfield said this yesterday, it looks like Jordan Brooks is in midseason form. I think he's a guy that is a really good player for us moving forward as well. So. Yeah. I think that defensive front is going to be a lot better than people think, and I actually think the safety rooms now with Minka balancing out pretty strong, and if those young corners hold their own, in every recap you just did, the one thing I can't help but to think that we're going to see this year is I think we're going to see a Jaylen Waddle redemption season.
Yeah, coming.
This is the year to me where I think people forget how good he was. It's recency bias, he's to me one of the most lethal receivers in this game still, and I think he's going to have a big year this year, and I'm excited. I can't wait for that to happen, man.
Same, man. I can't wait. So Zach Sieler, Neal, I'm going to play about 2 minutes of clips here. He was asked about his contract situation.
Yeah, this is awesome.
And Neal, I mean, if we had 53 Zach Sealers, we'd win a Super Bowl. This is the definition of a leader.
He's one of my favorite players in this league. There's no doubt about that.
For sure, brother.
You appreciate these earlier start times at all? I do. I was talking to the guys
he's liking the early.
I got to get my routine right because I'm very kind of routine orientated. So it's an adjustment, but I'm excited for it. It's nice to kind of get in here, get practice, kind of lock in. You a little half hour, 45-minute meeting with your coach, make some adjustments, and then go right to practice. So I like it.
Zach, I know you prefer to talk about football, but we got to ask.
Yeah.
You already
yeah.
Do you feel you've outplayed that contract that you signed 2 years ago now?
Yeah, I mean, so God's blessed me with amazing seasons here in Miami. I'm so fortunate to have the time I've had here and continue to have here. Obviously, all that stuff is between me and the team. What I really care about is getting out there on the field with the guys and building that camaraderie and the leadership with them. Getting to play next to KG, JP again, Chubb, Chop, all those guys. It's so good to be out there with those guys. I mean, summer's great and all, but, after a while you kind of start going crazy. And it's so nice to get here, get into routine again, and really start to build that camaraderie and be with the guys again. So it's been a blessing.
Zach, if I could just kind of briefly follow there. Obviously, guys have their own decision-making when they handle their business. We saw how John's situation happened earlier, sitting out and getting traded. Why did you make the route?
So I'm not going to talk on anyone else's decision. I think everyone's decision is their own path, their own journey. I have my path and my journey, and I think that, prayed about it a bunch, talked to my wife, talked to my family, and, end of the day, I'm going to be me. What got me to this point, what's got me here so far, and that's what I'm going to do every day. So that's how I take this approach.
Zach, we saw that you were limited, obviously, in the spring. but now you're out here.
Yeah.
You're really out here. Why the change, and do you foresee that continuing throughout training camp?
So the change, OTAs is obviously voluntary, training camp's not, and that really didn't have much to do with any of this. It really came down to is being able to get here. Season's right around the corner, 4 or 5 weeks away, and I want to be out here and be with the guys, like I talked about earlier, and build that culture to have a fast start to the season and carry that on all the way to the winter.
Zach, will your participation level in practice change once the pads come on, or the drills that you do?
We're not there yet. I'm not going to speculate. Right now, I'm out there with these guys. I'm going to keep being out there with these guys, and we're going to keep growing as a unit.
What do you think, Neal? Do you think when the pads come on, do you think he takes some drills off? And, I mean, we've already stated how we feel, Neal. Like, you know, Zach Sieler deserves to be paid more than Tua did, than Tyreek did, than Chubb did, than Ramsey did. Hell, even more than X did. You know, this guy's a definition of a leader. So people already know how we feel about that. What do you think happens?
And I don't know what happens. Whenever the videos come in, it kicks me out, but I'm back. But okay. I heard the Sieler thing earlier, and he's the pros pro. He's everything we've needed on this franchise. I want him to get paid more than anything at this point, to be honest. Like, when he gets up there in front of that mic, he's accountable for his production and everything he's done, yet he puts the team first still. I think that's just admirable all around.
Yeah, so do I. All right, well, I guess we can prepare for you to be kicked again. I just hope that he shows up. I just really hope that he shows up for camp, man. You know, like, I hope that he is that dude, and I hope that, you know, we don't have to go through any issues in terms of, you know, him missing time. So, Chop Robinson here, and this is what Chop had to say regarding everything. He subtly calls out a certain person in the media. I've defended Chop, you know, Ryder defended Chop. Ryder provided clips. You know, I was calling out the bad takes back when I was on good terms with this media person, and here's Chop Robinson subtly letting them know that he knows how to set the edge.
We look at sacks a lot to tell if an edge rusher is being effective. What do you look at to determine if you've been effective?
I mean, for me, it's just making plays that need to be made.
And tell me about that. I mean, how have you done? I mean, you know, the edge and things like that, turning plays back inside. How do you think you've progressed in some of those areas?
I think I did good. A lot of people was talking about me saying I couldn't stop the run and stuff like that. But it's a lot of clips out there of me setting the edge and stuff like that. But I don't listen to the outside noise. I just work on my craft and just do what I do every day.
Does your approach change from year 1 to year 2 in camp? Like, where you maybe have a little more comfort building the defense, maybe work on some more technique? How does that balance?
Yeah, it's definitely different from year 1 to year 2. It's not a lot of pressure. I'm comfortable with the playbook, comfortable with the guys out here, understanding offensive tackles, things like that. So it's way more comfortable year 2 than compared to year 1.
Chop, I know Kenneth Grant is big and fast, so playing alongside him, how have you seen his acclimation to?
Talking about Kenneth Grant right now.
Yeah, I mean, for his size, he's always been a fast guy. So going out there, just doing what he did in college is kind of similar to what he's doing now, just taking what he did in college and just bringing it to the NFL. So I think he's going to be a great player, and I'm excited to play next to him.
You mentioned setting the edge against the run. Where do you feel you're at in that area, and what have been the key teaching points that you've honed in?
I mean, for me, I guess you guys, time will tell when you see week 1 or preseason. And the keys are just getting off the ball, setting the edge, you know, closing my gap, playing inside gap and stuff like that. So just doing my job.
So, I mean, Chop letting those people in the media who are saying he can't set the edge, letting them know exactly what time it is. And I think me and you, I mean, I know he's going to be my biggest breakout candidate for this year when we get to the actual regular season. I think we're in for a big season with Chop, Neal, for sure.
Yeah, and when a guy watches a Julian Hill and a Chop Robinson, and he has praise for one and criticism for the other, and it's the praise for Julian Hill and the criticism for Chop, I can It seems like there's an agenda there, man. Like just because the guy's a rookie, you can't give him the credit that he's deserved. Like, yeah, maybe he got off to a slow start. He was a rookie. The second half of the season, he was among the top 10 defensive players in the entire league. Like, he was a terror, impacting games. He was making plays against the run, right? And I've said this, I don't really give a shit how good he is against the run. Who is Von Miller great against the run? He's going to have a gold jacket on someday. Like, we drafted him to disrupt football games, pressure the quarterback. Like, he had 6 sacks as a rookie. He had a 7th that I don't know what the hell I got taken off the stat sheet. I remember it happened and be like, how did he not get credit for it? We had Charles Harris and Deion Jordan here, for Christ's sake, who did nothing. So, God, I love Chop, man.
Yeah, yeah. And hey, I remember against the media members, I was defending him after we drafted him. And again, when I was cool with certain media members and they were talking out of pocket about Chop Robinson this offseason, I was quote tweeting them and calling them out and letting them know what time. Chop Robinson I will defend until the ends of the earth, man. Zach Sieler is one of my favorite players, but Chop Robinson, man, I got a lot of favorite players on this team, but Chop Robinson is near the top of that list too. And I think we got the potential between him and Phillips. Man, we got potential for 2 double-digit sack guys, man. I am so excited to watch them. And then let's show the people some highlights today, Neal. So here's the Kader Kohou breakup on Tyreek Hill. Big play by Kohou doing that thing. How can you not feel that energy of football being in the air? We got about 350 people in the chat right now. Do us a favor, smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. Earlier, Knight said, raise your sabers for Darth Kader. And Penn went ahead and gifted 5 Inside the NFL memberships. She also donated after the fact on a show recently. So shout out to her. And also, programming note, my defensive and special teams preview for training camp got blocked globally for clipping up Kenneth Grant against Penn State and Kenneth Grant against Minnesota. So I had to edit that video, but it's back again live. But Neal, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Stay healthy. Just, I don't want to see any injuries. We've been snake bitten for the last couple years. And as you're going through that, I'm asking myself a question. And I'll ask you this question. Who do you think is the guy, if the Dolphins were to extend a player, do you think it's Jalen Phillips or do you think it's Kader Kohou? Because I think there's a strong chance Kohou's going to get a contract during the course of this season.
I think it's going to be Kader Kohou.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kohou's going to get re-signed here.
I think, especially if Grayson Murphy takes a step this year, if Mo Kamara takes a step this year, I could see them, and they could try and get Chubb back here on a team-friendly deal. I could see them, even if Phillips has a big year, I could see them, like, if he has a big year, I don't know if they're going to pony up that money because of the injury history. I really don't.
The injuries, it's hard, and then the tag cap number is so high. It's like, what do you do? Because I do think they're going to, look, it might not happen right away. I think they're going to get an extension done with Zach Sieler. I don't think they're dumb enough not to let that happen. I think Kohou's a guy they're going to probably keep. Yeah. And I do think they'd like to keep a Chubb or a Phillips. I would say that you're probably going to get Chubbs on a cheaper deal because of the upside with the Phillips. But it would suck to see a guy like Jalen Phillips go out the door.
Neal, if Chubb stays healthy this year and he's productive and Chop stays healthy, and even if Jalen, they're going to sit there and turn, well, let's just roll the dice on Chubb because he's older. We could probably get him at a cheaper price. That's exactly what they're going to do. And then that'll be your duo moving forward until they replace Chubb. Like, that's exactly how I think it's going to go down.
Well, and you got young guys like Gabriel Murphy, and you got Mo Kamara, and you got Jordan Phillips. Grayson, Gabriel, You got those guys that are young guys kind of waiting in the wings that provide good depth now, but like a year from now, 2 years from now, these guys are going to be starting quality guys. So I think the defensive line is starter strong, but depth strong as well, which is something, it's been a while, right?
I think if you have Sieler, Jordan Phillips emerges, Kenneth Grant does what we think he's going to do, Chop continues doing what he's doing, and if Chubb stays healthy and sticks around, I think you'll be fine. So, guys, we're going to get out of here. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll recap. They're back at it tomorrow, and they're back at it Saturday. So we'll be recapping the next 2 days still on this channel. And then completed my interview today with that special guest I got coming up for all of y'all, and I'll be dropping that when I'm in the Bahamas. So a lot of content coming your way. Pads come on Monday, Tuesday at the latest, but I'm pretty sure it's Monday. So, guys, smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. As always, fins up all day, every day. See y'all in the next one.